Welcome back, Hooligans. Thank you for joining us. My name is Joe. I'm joined as always by my wonderfully lovely, fragrant, amazing co-star Ryan.
Fragrant,
What we're doing
flatulent.
today, I think it's a fun, special episode. We haven't been quite as consistent with getting content out as we are planning on doing. We do apologize to all of our Hooligans for that. But I will say this one is fun. This is one that I was been waiting to do. And this is the A-Team. Not the TV show from the 80s, but the 2010 action movie release. So we're looking 14, almost 15 years old at this point. But just when we talk about movies that, and I know we've said this on several other reviews we've done before, talk about movies that's just fun to sit down, throw some popcorn in your face, and just shut off your brain for a little while you enjoy something. This entirely falls into that category. I've never seen the original A-Team TV show. Not one episode. Obviously, I knew of it, mainly because I'd say Mr. T. He was an iconic force in the 80s. His Clubber Lang in Rocky III, which Rocky III is my favorite of all the Rocky movies. You just knew him. You just know who Mr. T was. If you're, in our age range, I would say, my age range. I'm the old man here.
I still know to call 1-800-COLLECT because of Mr. T.
I mean, you better. So I'd already seen this. I'd seen it multiple times. I was just telling Ryan here, I didn't bother to watch this again before we did this review because I don't even think that I need to. Ryan, you on the other hand had never seen this movie before, which I knew from I referenced it and you told me you never saw it. I'm like, this has to be on our list. So what did you think of the A-Team?
I forgot that it even got made. It was kind of around the time where Liam Neeson was going through his renaissance. Like the first Taken had come out 2 years before. This movie's from 2010.
Yeah.
So he was late 50s at the time, something like that.
Yeah,
like
probably
mid to late 50s. Yeah. But something I mean, like he's still believable for his part. Like he's not. The way the movie starts off is pretty cool. Like it's almost reminiscent, later on of like Black Widow, the interrogation scene where they've got her, but really she's the one getting information from them and like playing them. And it's kind of the same thing with him as Hannibal. He's captured, but really he's the one who's it's all part of his plan.
Yep.
And I also never really saw the original. I was aware of it. And I've seen bits of it, but it was, I don't know. It's just not my thing. And I feel like there's a lot of people who are like that. I mean, a lot of people watch Mission Impossible without ever seeing the show.
Mm-hmm, sure.
If it under different circumstances, there would have been people like me and you on YouTube in like the 90s, if there was some version of that, bitching about how the main protagonist of the Mission Impossible show is the villain from the first Mission Impossible movie. That they had to make the original guy the bad guy all of a sudden to introduce this new hero and make him, I don't know, worthy somehow, whatever. So
I didn't even know that was the thing. The thing you just said, I didn't know that happened from the show transitioning into the movies. I just remember seeing the first movie with the ultimate action star of my lifetime, Tom Cruise, like who's done all of it all through now. And it was just Mission Impossible was amazing. It was such a good, and the series has not even run its course yet. It's still going, and so far as I can tell, each one of them has been. I wouldn't say they have each gotten better per se, but they're each quality. Every single one that you're going to get, you're probably going to enjoy. There's going to be some amazing action scenes, some intrigue, some things that go on.
Not like the Bond series. There aren't really any bad Bond movies. Bond's like pizza. Even when it's bad, it's still pretty good. But they went through the Roger Moore era where it got pretty cartoony, and it was just a little tough.
Oh, you didn't like Moonraker? What?
I like Jaws. Jaws was cool. I asked my dentist to do that to me one time. He came in joking and he was like, we got to tear them all out. And I was like, great. I want Jaws thing from Moonraker. I want to be able to like bite into a pool ball. But anyway, the whole thing, just to say, there may be some like lore breaking stuff in that movie that I'm just not aware of.
Okay.
So that being said, the intro and everything, it was very like 90s action movie to me.
Hmm.
I wanted to somehow find a copy of this on VHS to add to like Assassins and Fair Game, Fair Play, whatever that movie was. Like just with all the other weird action movies I've gotten from thrift stores over the years, because this was very much in the same vein. Like the way that they meet and effectively introduce characters so quickly. You have Hannibal and BA like realizing that they're both Rangers because they see the tattoos.
Right.
Like, and then they have their own backstories, their own things that they're coming from that they don't have to explore it. They don't have to tell you everything. They don't have to hold your hand through all of it. I was just watching something about Netflix and like the way Netflix takes so much time to do things, to just tell a story or to like go through a documentary or something like that. And there was part of an interview, and I don't know if this is real or not, but they were saying that in this like interview panel thing with these executives, they were saying that they have to assume that it's, what do they call it, like second screen, that Netflix is the thing that you're kind of half listening to while you're playing with your phone.
Oh yeah, sure.
And this is from the era where they didn't do that. Like a lot of the cues are visual. A lot of the audio was a little bit, like the dialogue was a little bit hard to hear. Like you really had to be paying attention to it. But I don't know if it's that it's just an older school movie, but I really enjoyed it. I wound up really having a good time with it. Like I wasn't sure if I really wanted to watch it. It's like there might be a reason why I haven't seen it yet, why it just kind of came and went. But I had a good time. The only thing that really confused me at first was Mr. T is such a personality. I forgot his character was not just called Mr. T. So when they kept calling him BA or Baracus or whatever his name is, it's like, oh, right. That's why they're calling him that, because that was his character's name. They didn't call him Mr. T. It's like, I have no idea what Ice-T's name is in SVU. I have no clue what his character's name is, but it's like Detective Ice-T. That's what he is in my head. That's my headcanon.
Yeah, but this movie, from the outset. Now, straight up, number one, Howligans. This is a 14-year-old movie. We're going to spoil some stuff. Try not to be ridiculous with it, because it's a really fun movie, and I would like everyone to watch it. The way they introduce characters, but okay, sorry. What I wanted to say about this, it's the A-Team. So the things that go on in this movie, when you talk about suspension of disbelief, this movie is relying on that a lot. And I am one who, like, I am known for being a little hypercritical when suspension of disbelief means I have to suspend my disbelief of physics. Things like that, where I see something happen and I understand the world we're in, but I'm like, that doesn't make sense. When things that don't make sense. This movie, regardless of how utterly ridiculous the things were that they were doing and how improbable the outcomes were that they potentially achieved, I didn't care at all, not even a little bit. I just enjoyed it. The way they introduced all of the characters, though you mentioned it, they didn't go into ridiculously long 10, 15 minutes per character to kind of introduce you to everybody in it. I enjoyed how they introduced everybody, especially everybody did a great job. I would say, as far as how the characters were portrayed, and I like him. The guy who plays B.A. Baracus, that's Quentin Rampage Jackson, an actual UFC fighter, world champion. Like he's a bad man. Like straight up, no BS. That man is not somebody you're gonna be mouthing off to. Nope. Even his performance in it, because it's so hard when you're stepping in to try to portray a character who was portrayed by somebody who was so iconic as Mr. T. Those are big shoes to fill. It's very hard to do. And I still thought he did fine. I liked his character arc throughout the story. But every single person in this, you've got Quentin Jackson, you've got Bradley Cooper, who you can tell in this movie he's having fun. Like he is enjoying making this movie. He's enjoying playing the character of Faith. He's just fantastic.
Yeah, he's enjoying being opposite Jessica Biel a lot.
Yeah. Which, I mean, as would we all.
Would we all. God, I see what you're doing for other people, and I want that for me.
Yeah, there were real moments in this.
The one that really impressed me was Patrick Wilson as Lynch.
Patrick Wilson plays a good bad guy.
I know he was in like the Conjuring movies or whatever. He played he was the investigator or whatever his role was. But he, to me, is Night Owl from the Watchmen movie. Like that's always what I think of him as for some reason. That's the role that he's stuck with most in my head, even though I've seen so much other stuff that he's done.
Wow. You know what? I'm gonna be honest. I never actually associated him with Night Owl. Like I never realized it was him in Watchmen. It's obviously him. Like I'm hearing it now. I'm like, oh no shit. But I never somehow put two and two together with that.
He is so good as like the kind of enemy, but kind of doesn't care about you. Like you're sort of just an obstacle to him. He reminds me a lot of Chris Evans in The Gray Man. Was that what that was with Ryan Gosling?
Yes.
Like Chris Evans looked like he was having so much fun, and he's so funny and charismatic and energetic and just doing stuff all the time. And Patrick Wilson's the same way in this as Lynch, as the CIA agent. He's just, everything he says is great. His attitude is great. The only thing that they made him do is when his assistant guy shows him a picture of Sosa, Jessica Biel's character.
Right.
Like the first thing he says, because she calls, she figures out who he is, like where she'd seen his face before, finds out how to get to him, calls him, and then the guy shows him like a picture of her, and he goes, "Oh, she's hot." That's the only thing about him I didn't like. Was like that was unnecessary. He had just made a sexist joke about his assistant, his other assistant, his secretary, or whatever, who's like just there because she's hot. And the other guy's like, why is she even here? And he's like, she's great. She's a great asset or a great personality or something like that. And she turns around, just like flips him off. It's like, apart from that, where they just wanted to make him a little bit more of a jerk, everything else he did was great. Like you don't like him, but you love watching him. Mm-hmm. Like for me, he just dominated every scene he was in.
Yeah, I feel like the writers will sometimes throw in things like that to really cement them as the bad guy.
Yeah, you have to make sure
why they're trying to push it.
Yeah, and I think they kind of failed in some of that in newer movies and shows where like everybody roots for the villain because they like forget to make the villain unlikable. Like they have to throw in a couple things that are like a little bit too, oh, you're not just like out there, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
So they have to throw in these like couple little lines, but he was super fun in that role. And Gerald McRaney, the guy who plays General Morrison, is only like 5 years older than Liam Neeson.
Ha! He looks more than 5 years older.
He does, but he also has looked the same for a long time.
Long time.
He's like Sean Connery was. Like he hit max level and he just stopped leveling.
That's it. Once you hit max level, that's it. There is
Yeah,
no.
he just stopped getting older for some reason. But yeah,
But all the
everybody was,
people
and
in
then
this:
yeah,
Liam
just
Neeson, Bradley Cooper, Quentin Jackson, and I know I'm going to mess up his name. I don't know how you properly pronounce it, but Charlton
Copley.
Copley.
Yeah.
He steals the goddamn show. Him as Murdoch is amazing. He is so good in that. And apparently, as I'm trying to, I like to look up trivia and different things about these movies that we watch. His mother banned him from watching the A-Team due to the on-screen violence. But as a kid, he was apparently like really into them, that he would hide a tape recorder behind the television in his room to record the A-Team's audio, and then he would listen to it when his parents were asleep. Like, this is a person who, like, they were into the A-Team as, a kid, and now he has this chance to play this crazy character. And none of the characters I've ever seen him in any of the movies, like, he was the villain character in, oh my gosh, what's it called? That super messed up movie with Josh Brolin that we watched, where Josh Brolin got locked up.
Oh, Old Boy.
Yes, Old Boy. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, but the movies
Yeah, he was
I've seen
Adrian,
him in,
wasn't he?
yeah, he was the main villain in that
Yeah.
movie. And every character I've seen him play is just out there, crazy, some way. And I think this was my first introduction to him that I can remember. Oh, I guess not. Oh, I guarantee I saw Old Boy first before I saw this. But his portrayal of Murdoch in this is so good. I really like the way every one of the main 4 A-Team characters plays their character. It was how they portrayed themselves in this movie is really what made me enjoy this movie as much as I did. There are super crazy things that happens. I love it when a plan comes together, and their plans are the most ridiculous, impossible to pull off things that you could possibly imagine. And they pulled stuff off, and it's super fun to watch. And even Jessica Biel's character, they did not turn her into the stereotypical I can do it all girl boss.
Well, yeah, they
Yet
straddled the
she was
line
a
back.
very competent agent in the movie. Like, you believed her, and I like that. And it didn't have to be, oh, she's better than him or he's better than. No, they were just all their own characters. And hopefully, I mean, there are shows that are crashing and burning right now. The new Star Wars one that came out that is being canceled. The Rings of Power that are out right now that is considering, they're talking about the cancellation of it. Things like that, where they're trying to girl boss everything, and they're trying to throw all their new Snow White movie. They're throwing all their politics and their agendas into it, and it's not working. And just can you just write us good characters? And then you have this, and it unfortunately did not do as well as they were hoping it would do. This was just rife for sequels. Like, it was set up to have more of them made. Bradley Cooper and the director, Joe Carnahan, were on board with making more, but the disappointing box office was what kind of forced our hand into, unfortunately, not doing that, which I was very disappointed by, because I could see I would have watched more of these.
For sure.
All the people that we mentioned so far, they're just great. The movie itself, if we want to go with a synopsis of it, it's the A-Team.
Yeah, well, I can just give a quick synopsis since I did just recently watch it.
Yeah, you do it.
Yeah, the A-Team starts off with a mission in Mexico where you're watching this plan come together, but you're also meeting BA and Murdoch for the first time. BA happens to be there driving by in a very A-Team looking van, which there's no explanation for. It's just his car. It's just what he likes. And then Murdoch is like a crazy pilot who's working as a surgeon in some kind of clinic down there.
Oh, no, he's not working as a surgeon. He is in the institution.
Oh,
he's institutionalized, and he's pretending to be a surgeon as he's sewing up face because he got hurt in whatever the mission
No,
was.
it was BA.
It was BA.
Yeah.
He gave him a lightning bolt.
Yep.
Yeah,
they
man.
okay, so I missed that because
What?
the comment I made before was the audio was a little bit hard to hear. I wound up having to use headphones because it's like I can't understand what they're saying. I don't know if it's the way that it's encoded on Max or whatever service it was on.
Mhm.
But it was tough to hear some of what they were saying. So I wound up using headphones for the rest of it. But yeah, they managed to escape. They achieve whatever their goal is. And then it's 8 years later. They're now the A team or Alpha team or whatever. They're the best
they're called
clandestine
the
team there
Alpha
is.
team out, whatever. Yeah.
They're in Iraq during like the final withdrawal, and they find that these plates.
Saddam Hussein.
Yeah, that there are these plates that are missing that were for printing American currency.
Yes.
Like the mint presses, whatever that they had that was in this area that were being used have been destroyed, but the plates are missing. And so they're trying to find those. And basically, Jessica Biel is Teresa Sosa, Captain Sosa comes to Bradley Cooper. They have a history. They used to date, whatever. She's telling him to stay away from it and then telling her guys, like, watch them. I would never tell them this. They're the best. Like, they're going to find it, basically. And then you have the General Morrison, telling him kind of doing the same thing-ish. He's like, yeah, you can do it, but I'd rather you stay away from it. And then it's a back and forth between him and Hannibal.
Yeah, he can't officially sanction it.
Right. So they go to do it. They manage to pull off like a ridiculous plan. And then in the end, Morrison's car blows up. There's no record of them being ordered to do all the stuff that they did. So they're put in prison separately in different places. Murdoch, reasonably so, into a psych ward somewhere. But then Lynch, the CIA guy who's also there, comes to visit him, and they're trying to figure out where the place wound up after this incident. And then it puts everything into motion where these guys all start breaking out of prison, breaking themselves out, breaking each other out, whatever. It's kind of funny because at a point they know what's happening. Like they know, okay, Murdoch's the last one. We got to go and figure it out. And they still manage to do it. And it's just, I mean, it's Mission Impossible level ridiculous stuff that happens to
I'd almost say more so.
Yeah, because they're like, there's a point where it's like, are they... What was the line? Like, are they trying to parachute in a tank? And they're like, no, they're trying to fly it.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to fly a tank. I don't want to put, I mean, you don't even need context. If you want to watch something like that, it's pretty great. But yeah, the whole thing is, it's very Mission Impossible in that they're trying to clear their names, to recover these printing plates, to figure out who is really behind everything, who they can trust, who they can't. And in the end,
there is
can't
a group
trust
we haven't
nobody.
mentioned yet, and that was Black Watch, which is like this group of mercenaries, just mercs who are also in Iraq at the time. You see like 8 years later, and this other mercenary group is in there, and they're like, "Oh, we make more in a month than you make in a year, or whatever it is." And so they're kind of part of this. And one of the guys, the head of that Black Watch team is
Pike.
Yeah. And I liked his character in this. Like he's kind of an antagonist for sure.
He's mustache twirlingly evil.
Yes. Like, he's not like, I'm not trying to be anything other than what I am.
Yeah. Like, there's a point where he's fighting.
Money. I don't care who I hurt.
Yeah. He's fighting Baracus, and Baracus is like, I can't hurt you. And he's like, well, I'm going to hurt you.
Yep.
Like, he just, no problems, nothing at all. He's like, I can beat this guy, even though he's got like 80 pounds on me.
He's wrong. But
yeah, dude, there's a scene with him and Patrick Wilson together in the car where he's cuffed. Oh my God, it's so good. It's so good. Just this exchange that they have where he's not, back. Yeah, don't cuff somebody behind their back. You can't see what they're doing with their hands. And then he's like criticizing the way they're holding the gun on him and all this stuff. And he just takes it away from the guy.
It's like, this is the guy are you serious? Oh man. It was.
Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward kind of story.
Yep.
But it's really fun. and I think part of that is like I had no trouble with the suspension of disbelief. It's a prerequisite. Like you have to. Like the world where this stuff is possible from the very beginning. Like none of this really makes sense.
Right?
And it's fine. And everybody's so fun and charismatic. It doesn't really matter. Like I love that Baracus is like, I was a whatever ranger, like, and now he's afraid. Airborne ranger. I was trying to think of the right term. Yeah, he's an airborne ranger. He's like, and now I'm afraid to fly. He's like, what? You look what you did to me, and they have to like tranquilize him every time they fly
Murdoch
somewhere.
is just so insane when he flies things, and they drop a whole air conditioning unit on his van, and there's just so many things in this that the characters in this are so good. It really makes it fun to watch. There's not a whole bunch of depth and complexity of what's going on, but there is a little bit. I would be curious. I don't necessarily want to spoil it, but the twist that came, did you see that coming, or did that take you by surprise?
It took me by surprise.
Okay, good. When I first saw it, me too. Did not see that coming. I thought they did a good job of hiding it throughout the movie.
I think they do a good job of hiding it because there's so many factions.
Right.
There's the A team. There's like the presumed bad guys who are just there in Iraq that they're trying to get the plates from to begin with.
Right.
There's the private mercenary group.
Those would be the Saddam Hussein Arab terrorists.
I mean, whatever they are.
Those bad guys.
I mean, they never like specify their group or whatever. Well, they say they're like Iraqi special ops.
Yeah.
Then you've got Sosa's group, like some other part of the military. You've got the CIA involved. Like there's so many different groups kind of going after the same thing and trying to figure out who knows what and what's really going on. It makes it really tough to just make sense of who is doing what, or to really know like what twist is coming, or who's going to suddenly sort of step out of the shadows to be like, oh, it was me all along.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things I think in this movie that I could talk about, specific scenes, things that I really enjoyed. I don't know that it's necessary. This is a movie that will be very easy for me to just say, Halligans, go out and watch this movie. This is a watch for me. I enjoyed it the first time I watched it. I have watched it on multiple occasions, just turned it on to have it in the background, or said, oh, you know what? I just feel like watching this. And it's fun. Every single time that I watch it, the people who are in it, all four of the main characters, and then you've got the antagonists, and then you've got, Jessica Biel's character, all these people, they're just all fun to watch in this movie. They all do a very good job to play the characters that they're playing. And this is the kind of movie I want to see come out of Hollywood. I am extraordinarily disappointed it did not do well enough. And there's a list of movies that I think of that are like this that probably could have had sequels, even though I am a little tired of, like, Marvel kind of ruined it for me with everything has to have a sequel. It has to be a franchise. Okay. Let's back it up. I'm ready for some more IP, some original properties kind of a thing. But this was for taking such a ridiculous show from the 80s and turning it into it will be hard for me not to place this in my top 10 favorite movies, not because it's the best. It's not, a level of things like The Departed or Shawshank Redemption, or there are movies that I can put up there that it's not those, but it's so fun to watch. It's so fun to just turn on and enjoy something. I was really disappointed we didn't get more of them, but on the other side of that, I'm kind of okay with it because I'm a little sick of that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of those things where if they had made this movie without it being A-Team related, maybe it would have done better. Because maybe there would have been more people who were like, "Oh, this is the thing my like dad used to watch. Like, I'm not that interested in it." Maybe it turned some people off, and it might have done better as its own thing. I don't know, but I agree with you. There's so many sequels out there, but there's always been a lot of sequels.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's been a long time since we've had a really strong original property come out, and there's low hanging fruit for it. Like you and I talked about the fact that in No Time to Die, like Lashana Lynch is pretty good. She was the new 007. They could have just I think towards the end of that movie they just moved. She's like, I want to relinquish the 007 number back to Bond, and then I'll take like whatever other numbers available or whatever. And it's like, great. Make a new series about her.
Yep.
Like that's what they're doing with the books. They're making new books about other 00s at this point. Like they're getting away from just Bond all the time, which is cool. I think that's a good idea. I think yeah, it makes sense. And especially if Mission Impossible is coming to an end, there's room for like another over the top spy thriller kind of series. And there's room for something like this to come back too.
Yep.
I just had a ton of fun with this movie.
I knew you would. There's unlike some of the things you've recommended, like the shitting in the bucket movie, Nomad. But
that's what
not that you saw beforehand. I don't think there's been anything you've recommended that you saw beforehand that didn't pan out. There have been some ones that I've been like, oh, hey, let's watch this. This looked so and so is in it. Let's watch it. And we were like, that was not as good as we hoped it would be.
No, Monster Squad. Monster Squad was one I hadn't seen before that I think worked out.
Okay.
Monster Squad was pretty good.
Yeah, classic. That is definitely a classic.
No, I realized what else I was going to say. I just saw, speaking of sequels, Beetlejuice.
Oh, did you?
But I can't say it again during this episode, or else
no, obviously.
I thought it was really fun. I had managed to avoid spoilers. The only thing I saw was like the drinker, and it was like on my computer, popped up in the corner because I have the YouTube web app installed. And it was like, critical drinker, new video. And then the title was like the movie that I can't say the name of now.
Right.
Is like an overstuffed fun mess, something like that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm cool with that. That's all I need to know. And I agree with that idea compared to today's movies. But the pacing of A-Team reminded me of that and the original. We're talking the Michael Keaton movie here, the one that I can't say the name of. Because I'm going to try to do like Jeremy Johns and not say the name 3 times. But there was no fat on this movie.
Nope.
And a lot of movies used to be like that. A lot of these older movies used to just be, you got exactly the exposition that you needed. You got exactly the shots that you needed to convey something, like whether that was visual, whether that was verbal, whatever. Like they did not waste time lingering on stuff or like having people kind of look at each other in a meaningful way. Because filming used to be expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've kind of done a little bit of research into it to find out like how digital has changed it. And it used to be that like the physical film cost so much, running the camera cost so much. I mean, I've learned like they'll say good gate after a shot or after a scene. And that's because back in the day, they would check the gate on the camera to make sure that like a hair or something hadn't gotten in there, because there was a possibility they had no way of knowing if when they like set everything up, if something would get in that gate where it would be in between the lens and the film and it would just ruin the shot.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of expense and complexity to like filming on film, sending that out for quick development, like rushing that out to the people who need to see dailies and all this stuff. So I think they just had no time to mess around. Like you got to get exactly what you need and get out. And that's why those old movies were like an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. This movie was what, an hour and 44 minutes, I think.
I mean, okay, you say that, but then there's other movies like, oh my God, like Ben-Hur and Spartacus.
Sure.
And whatever the one where Rosebud, the movie I'm talking about, that's like the most famous. It's
Citizen Kane.
Citizen Kane. Like there are movies like that as well, but yeah, you don't think about it nowadays. Movies are still expensive, but as they are learning, like with, and I really want to watch this. I haven't seen it yet, and I really want to. The new Godzilla movie that came out. That was it Korean? Is that who put it out, or was it actually Japan?
I think it was Japanese. Let me see. Godzilla -1.
-1. But
Japanese.
It crushed the other ones and how well it did. And it didn't have nearly the expensive budget that the other ones had. Now, don't get me wrong, the budget it had compared to some of the movies that we knew growing up is still exorbitant. But compared to what they're putting into things now, even compared to what they're putting into some of these, like the amount of money that's gone into this Rings of Power on Prime, it's astronomical the amount of money they're spending on this, but it's just on different things. It's not on the film and the cameras and just the crew and these other things. It's all the technological companies that they're using and the advertising that they're trying to do, things like that. Oh man, and it's like overall it's still a business. And it's the reason that there weren't sequels made to this movie, which both, as I said, both disappointing and I'm okay with. I like that this can just be its own standalone thing, even though it would have been nice to see sequels to it because I really enjoyed it. Enough with the sequels. Unless a movie really, really, really merits it, we don't need that. And one thing you would mention that it could be the fact this movie is related if they made this movie kind of like I thought this of the when Disney did the remake of 101 Dalmatians, and the movie itself, if you take away Cruella de Vil and the 101 Dalmatian tag off that movie and you just made that movie because I don't feel like the character was the same, the movie itself is fine. Okay, it's an okay movie. The young girl who's trying to be, the new up-and-comer of fashion design. Then you've got the older lady who's been a part of it for years and doesn't really feel like relinquishing command. That whole dynamic, that was all fine. It was a good movie. But the fact you slapped this title on it, well, it's the most evil character almost in Disney history. She wants to kill puppies. What other Disney villain is that evil? Like my favorite Disney villain is the one out of Mulan because I just liked him. But like she wants to kill puppies. Like my God. So doing that was a bit like stop trying to work off of that. I think we've mentioned this before where the movie Equilibrium came out at the same time as The Matrix. Right. And instead of trying to compete with it, it should have just stood alone, been its own thing, because it's fantastic. Like, it's Christian Bale. It's fantastic. It's well done. A great story based on the book Fahrenheit 451, written by Ray Bradbury, a famous author. It stands alone. It doesn't need to, we're the next this thing. No, you're not. You're different. You're not the same as that. And that's okay. And speaking of that, what did I see in here that I thought was interesting?
Well, I was interested in the budgets thing that you're just talking about. And I think budgets have gone crazy. That's another problem for sure. That there's way too much money. And it's true that older movies like Ben-Hur and stuff like Spartacus and whatever, and Citizen Kane and Metropolis and things like that probably used like more effects or longer shots than they absolutely had to. But in those cases, like the lingering shots were supposed to be meaningful. And I think they probably were more so back then than they would be now because so many movies just do that. I mean, they just have a lot of like filler and a lot of fluff and a lot of like these tracking shots that are like cool in a technical way. I think a great example that I've talked about before was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. There's the tracking shot of Brad Pitt driving home. which is really cool, and it helps like set the mood for the time period you're in. Like you see what's going on, like you see the signs and the old school radios playing and all that stuff. That's cool, but not totally necessary, and it's not really something they would have been able to do back in the day. But I think, yeah, in some cases they're just making it longer because they don't think you're paying attention and they want to give you more of a chance to catch it. Or they were doing it because it's cheaper to just like, this is the shot we need. This is how we're storyboarding this out. Let's just get this and move on and not catch a whole bunch and then try to fix things or like reconfigure it in post. But speaking of budget, since you brought up Godzilla -1, do you know how much the Rings of Power cost?
Oh, just season? Number off the top of my head? No, I've heard it referenced in the Drinkers reviews, but no, I don't know.
$465 million was their budget for season 1.
For season 1.
It cost $50.1 million per hour of runtime. It was more expensive. According to what I'm reading here, it was more expensive per hour than the actual Lord of the Rings trilogy. But what I did with the inflation calculator, basically every one of those original movies cost around the same amount. $93 million for the first one, 94 for Two Towers and Return of the King, both. So adjusted for inflation, that's around 460 to 480 million.
Okay.
And you got movies that you and I send memes of back and forth, like almost on a weekly basis. There's probably a Lord of the Rings meme.
Yeah.
And nobody's really talking about Rings of Power except people who really hate it. Like I haven't felt a need to see it because everybody I know who read the books or watched the movies is like, this is kind of, at best it's tangential and you don't really need it.
Mm-hmm.
And at worst, it's just awful. But they spend so much money on this stuff. And then they do crazy things. Like they have these weird campaigns and they did that like super fan thing to try to convince you that it's going to be good because they only got the rights to the Silmarillion or whatever and not to any of the other like main characters or main stories that they were, that probably would have made it a lot better. Anyway.
Yeah.
Point being, you could probably do a lot better by just planning well and coming up with an original IP that doesn't have so much baggage attached to it.
And how about we write good characters? Just, as I said, it's why I like this movie so much. Speaking of characters, so the original movie was, they had John Singleton in line to direct it. Mm-hmm. But the original cast, they had Mel Gibson as Hannibal, Christian Bale as Face, Jim Carrey as Murdoch, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as B.A. Baracus. This movie would not have been the same movie that you and I have watched. Now, I will say, I don't know about Christian Bale, Jim Carrey, and The Rock, but I do think Mel Gibson, his resurgence after the whole Jew thing and everything that happened with him.
Yeah.
In the South Park episode, which was fantastic. I do think he could have pulled off Hannibal. Him and Liam Neeson, both high caliber, quality actors, have done their share of action things. Now, granted, Mel Gibson did his action before. I've actually been meaning to watch Braveheart again because I just
watched it again within the last
because I know Gladiator they're doing the sequel, but
within the last 6 months I rewatched Braveheart.
Oh, have you?
Yeah,
nice. It is. I haven't watched it in a long time at this point, so I've really been wanting to watch that again.
Yeah, that would have been the thing that I liked about Murdoch the most. And Murdoch had a couple moments where he like reminded me of myself, particularly when it comes to fears of flying and me not really having any patience or sympathy for that. Was where they get in what is it, the Hercules, I think, at one point. Or no, maybe it's the like seaplane that they're in.
C-130?
Yeah, I don't remember which plane they're in, but Baracus is not out yet. And they're like, "What? You know how to fly this? Do you know what?" And he's like, "I don't know. Let's see what this does." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And he just like he's doing stuff, and he knows what he's doing, but he's acting like he doesn't, and he's acting like
Yes.
it's surprised when like it's a surprise that things are working. Like
He
that's the
he was
kind of
my
stuff that
favorite part of the whole movie. He honestly was. And everybody played their character so well, but that actor is fantastic. He's so underrated. I need to personally do a better job that it used to be. Hollywood used to be we went to see a movie because of an actor or an actress that we liked. Oh, Julia Roberts is in a new movie. Let's go see it. Not, oh, there's a new Marvel movie with, yeah, it's got these actors, but it's Captain America, it's Thor, it's Iron Man. It used to be you liked certain individuals and what they brought to the role. I would like to kind of get back to that. I am not the best about it, but I would like to look up and see what other movies he's made, what other shows.
Yeah.
I just want to see what he's done and check it out.
I mean, but studios are purposely trying to stop movie stars from happening because it makes it too expensive. Like, think of all the actors that were in Endgame.
Ooh.
So I just looked it up. Robert Downey Jr. made $75 million from that movie.
That's one guy. That's one guy out of a lot.
And that's, yeah, what is that? How many Godzilla minus ones can you make with that?
Right.
And let's see, Chris Evans, around $20 million. So Robert Downey Jr. was obviously the biggest star in it. But first Avenger, Evans earned $300,000 for his first appearance. Then $3 million for Avengers, $15 million for Ultron, $15 million for Infinity War, $20 million for Endgame. But when you have one guy earning $75 million off of a movie, that's $20 million up front and the rest off of the ticket sales off the back end. That it just makes it too expensive for there to be these like really huge movie stars. I think. I mean, I want to say that a big part of it is the studios being super greedy, but it's also like, was RDJ worth $75 million?
Okay,
in that movie?
Right, that's a good.
You couldn't make it. You couldn't make it without him. Like, no, you could not have made the MCU. I don't think would have worked without him. But still, it's like I can see it from the studio's perspective. Like, we need the role to be what people come to see. They need to come to see Captain America or Iron Man, like they've been saying, not necessarily this actor, because then the actors can become so expensive that they can't afford to make the movies anymore.
I mean, I think that, okay, I do see the point in that. That is valid. But then you've got movies like, let's say, The Devil's Advocate, where Keanu Reeves specifically took a pay cut to bring in Al Pacino. He said, I will take less money so we can get him to play opposite me, because otherwise this movie's not going to be the same thing that it was. So,
yeah, there's probably a balance to be struck.
And I mean, to be fair, out of everybody who there could be, he's like, I don't want to say Hollywood's golden child per se, but he's like the everyman. He's such a good human being. And I am, Halligans, I'm going to put this out there right now, I am honored to share that man's birthday. Both Keanu Reeves and I are September 2nd. There's not really, if you look up September 2nd in like celebrity birthdays, I don't share it with almost anybody who makes any difference, but I share it with the best one in Keanu Reeves. He and I share a birthday, and I will forever be proud of that. That's amazing because he's such a good person in general.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've kind of rambled pretty far away from
the actual movie we're talking
starting off. Yeah, I think we already finished that one. I think we both agreed that, it's a watch. People should go see it. It's available on Max right now, as far as I'm aware. Everybody, I try to always say this, check your local library.
Yeah.
I'm
Love
very
that,
much anti subscription right now. I just looked at my credit card statement. It was like $200 higher than I thought it would be. Wondered why. It's because I have like a Bluehost subscription I forgot about. I have a QuickBooks subscription I forgot about. I have a Google Drive subscription that I forgot about. Like, you don't need another subscription.
You don't.
Go find it physically somewhere. Like, go get it from the library. If you already have Macs or whatever, watch it there.
Don't pirate it.
Actually, one of the things I do is I don't pirate. I'm using Android right now. You know, I switch back and forth between iPhone and Android pretty much every time I get a phone. Yep. But this is available on both Google Survey Rewards or something like that, or just Google Surveys, whatever it's called now, because Google cannot stick with a name. So they probably changed that one before. But they'll just ask you questions like, have you gone to this place? Did you look for this thing? Was this search result helpful? Stuff like that. And you get between like 10 cents and like 75 cents every time you answer one of these questions. And then when it comes time to rent a movie, you can rent a movie for like $2.99, $3.99 through Google Play. And then you can watch it through the YouTube app on whatever streaming device you have. Pretty easy way to get like free rentals. You and I have watched a bunch of the movies that we talked about that way. It's like, oh, well, I answer these questions every once in a while, so I have $20 in reward points. Let's go ahead and just use that. If you do it on iPhone, it's a little bit different. I think they have to give you like a gift card, but you're way less likely to get surveys. Anyway, just a tip.
I need to look into that myself. Now, I do want to say, still going back to the movie itself, B.A. Baracus, or Mr. T, he's known for the line, "I pity the fool."
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the movie that we just watched, B.A. Baracus, or Quentin Jackson, has the tattoos "pity" and "fool" on his knuckles. It's great. Love the scene where it introduces him. It shows that. The catchphrase is technically from the movie Rocky 3, and he never actually said that in the A-Team show from back in the 80s. So he never said it on the A-Team, but it was a really nice callback that they threw that in to the movie.
Yeah. So it's more of a wink to Mr. T.
Yes. Absolutely a wink to Mr. T. I
don't think he actually...
He never said it in the A-Team.
Yeah, and I don't think he says it in this. I think he just has the tattoos.
That's right.
That made sense, because it's like, okay, they have the tattoos. Is there a point where it's like waiting all those years to hear Avengers Assemble? It's like, when's he going to say it?
He's gonna say it. He's gonna say the line.
Flame on.
Flame on. Okay, Halligan's. This was just fun. So if you're looking for something that action movie heavy, you're gonna sit down and watch it with your girl. She's gonna tune out. She's not gonna care. But it's fun. Just straight up. We cannot recommend highly. I cannot. I don't want to speak. I want to speak for my compatriot. I can. I should, but I'm not gonna. Cannot recommend this highly enough. I have enjoyed it since it came out. I hope everybody else does. Go watch this movie. The A-Team, 2010. It's fantastic. So go watch it. Enjoy yourself.
Definitely. Agreed.
That it?
All right. That's it.
Tell them all the
That's
things.
what we got.
Go follow us. All the
Go ahead.
Like, subscribe, do all the YouTube, do all that stuff. All the things, do all the things.
All right. Great. Bye.
Bye.